Topic 8. Why the brain prefers regret over powerlessness. There's a truth your mind will never admit. That some of the worst things in your life weren't your fault. That you had no control. That you were just there, and it happened. But your brain can't tolerate that. So it finds a better story. One where you chose wrong. One where you could have changed everything. If only. Because to the mind, regret feels safer than helplessness. In the hierarchy of psychological suffering, powerlessness is bottomless. It's existential. It tells you the universe is indifferent, your decisions meaningless, your life a product of chaos. The human brain, desperate for causality, cannot metabolize that. So it invents agency, even where there is none. That's the lie regret tells to preserve the self. This was your fault. And you believe it, because the alternative is annihilation. Psychologists call this illusory control. The belief that we influence outcomes that were, in truth, random or determined by external forces. In experiments, subjects often prefer blame over chance. They would rather suffer guilt than accept powerlessness. In one study, participants who believed they'd made an error showed more brain activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, the region for error monitoring, even when the mistake was objectively out of their hands. It wasn't real, but the brain felt better believing it was. Regret, then, is not just a reaction. It's a defense mechanism, a structured delusion that allows you to feel in control of your suffering. Because if you caused it, maybe, just maybe, you could have stopped it. And that illusion, however false, is less terrifying than the truth, that you never stood chance. Here's the deeper cruelty. The more intelligent and self-aware you are, the more elaborate your regret becomes. You reconstruct detailed scenarios in which you could have acted better, spoken, left, resisted, understood. But it's all theater, because the self in those scenarios is not who you were. The you who might have avoided the catastrophe did not exist at that moment. That version of you was born only in hindsight. But the mind doesn't care. It's not building a truth. It's building a narrative in which you were powerful and failed, instead of powerless and irrelevant. Because that story, painful as it is, still lets you be the main character. This is why trauma survivors often carry guilt. Why abuse victims replay their reactions. Why grieving loved ones think of one more thing they could have done. Not because they're delusional, but because blame offers structure. And structure feels like agency, even if it chains you. The mind would rather bleed inside a cage of personal failure than float unanchored in a universe where things just happen. No meaning, no reason, no undoing. So you keep regretting, because regret is the only thing standing between you and nothingness. You want to heal, but healing means admitting it wasn't your fault. You weren't in control, and maybe you never were. But if you let go of that regret, if you accept the helplessness behind it, who is left in the story? Topic 9. Regret as an identity parasite. You don't just remember the regret. You become it. At first, it was a moment, a bad choice, a silence.